Hi, I'm Claire Dyer, and welcome to another episode of Dyer Consequences here on Unprecedented TV, where every week I like to cover a different issue and have real guests on the show. Today, I am going to touch on politics as much as I hate it. So, politics, love it or hate it. And personally, I do really hate politics. It shapes, unfortunately, everything around us, from the taxes we pay to the laws we follow, to the communities that we live in. Political decisions impact our daily lives more than some realise, but what makes someone step into that world? To join a political party, knock on doors, speak at rallies, or even run for office? Is it frustration, hope, ambition, or desire to be part of something bigger than themselves? In a time when trust in politicians is at an all-time low and party loyalty is fading, we're asking the question, who are the people behind the politics? What do they stand for? And why do they step into the line of fire to fight for it? So today, my guest is just 14 months into his political career, and I will be asking him what his motivation is, his personal stories behind his political involvement, because before politics became a game, it started with people, and their reasons do actually matter. So today I want to welcome to the show Tim Charters, who is the chairman for Reform in Crawley, Sussex. It is Sussex, isn't it? East Sussex, West Sussex?
Crawley in West Sussex. Yeah.
West Sussex, that was it. So welcome, Tim. Thank you for coming on today.
Hello, Claire. Thank you for inviting me. And this is the first one of these interviews that I have done. So let's see if I hold it together, eh?
All right, I think I'm only 5 in, so we'll both be, we'll just keep each other going. So I asked you to come on because, as you probably know, a lot of people have no trust in politicians anymore. The second someone finds out they're a councillor or an MP for any political party, that's it, instant distrust, they're corrupt, they're all about themselves and just their own political career. I always like to say I like to go on the people. It doesn't matter really what party they are. If someone is in politics with the right intentions, and they are a genuine person, then, should we be tarring them all with the same brush? I obviously met you, and I felt that, we had a conversation and felt that the reasons for you getting into politics, came across as very genuine. You come across as a genuine person. So I want you to kind of say, what your background is and what made you go into politics.
Well, to start off with, I agree with you about councillors and MPs and all of this. That's one of the reasons why I'm in. But origin story, how far back do you want to go? Should I go to parents and schooling and all of this?
It's up to you. I mean, you said you'd only been in politics 14 months.
I think it's probably 15 now, but yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want to sound rude, but a little later in life, you didn't come straight out of university with the idea of having a political career and going straight into politics. So
no. So I trained as a software engineer. I went to UCL University, did pretty good there in all of my programming work. Started my career working in London for a company called Terrapin, and they are a media events company. That was fine and fun. I then tried starting my own business, a business called Bobble Job, which was an auction website for odd jobs, but it worked the opposite way around. So you would post a job and people who were looking for it would try and bid on it. And I started that with my brother, went for that for a few years, but didn't make it. We couldn't secure any investment, mostly because we just didn't know how to secure any investment. I'm an engineer. It's not really my fundraising's not my thing, which is a problem for what I'm doing now. Yeah, well,
You have to learn that one.
Yeah. So then, I went back to worked for a company called RSM. That was in finance. That was proper big boy programming, that stuff. The standards level went much higher. Really enjoyed that. Then moved into the defense sector, worked for a company called Thales. They make the radars for the ships and stuff. And I did just simulation software. So pilots are trained on computer games. So I make computer games for pilots. That's basically
so it. You've done quite a array of things then, haven't you, really?
Yeah, I swished around quite a few sort of sectors. But I've always been quite entrepreneurial. I had this side project, which I think you'd quite like. I'd have to dig it out because I'm afraid I've turned all the hosting off. It's called Tails. I know it sounds like Tyler's, but that's a coincidence. So for that one, God, I'm making a business pitch here. Here we go. So imagine if a cat gets stuck in a tree, right? And the Daily Mail come along, they want to do an article on it, and they write a story, cat stuck in a tree. And then the BBC come along, they might want to write a story, cat stuck in the tree. But the cat was stuck in the tree once, right? You know where it happened, you know when it happened. So I plot one dot on a map, and then I list all the stories talking about it. With robots, I can automatically detect if there's retractions, if there's changes to the story, and I can flag up that this event, the cat stuck in a tree, it might not have happened because the story's now changed later.
Right.
And then I connect the cat stuck in the tree event to an event later, which might be the fire department coming to rescue the cat, right? Very serious stuff.
It sounds very complex, actually.
But the point is, you could go on to like a map type interface. If you really want to do the research, you can say, right, what happened near me? Oh, a cat got stuck in a tree. How did it happen? How did that happen? How did that happen? And you can trace events, and you might get things, you might discover things that you didn't know. So like, you know, the Taliban takeover.
Are you already doing this now?
Oh, it actually already works, mostly.
So are you able to use it for kind of plotting things that are going on in your community, for example?
Yes, I can do that. The problem I've got is that I have to add the stories on manually with the stuff that I have at the moment. I've got to automate all of that. You know, obviously you can't have people constantly typing everything, and it's impossible. The scale of it is too high. So that's where I need to do more programming. But the idea was to actually penetrate through the fog of fake news and people doing retractions. And it's stuff like, you know, if there was a news article about how, you know, the Queen eats babies, that was the example I gave when I was doing it, because the Queen was around.
I think there might be a conspiracy theory about that one.
Did I just let it out?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, let's say that then later they say, oh no, the Queen doesn't eat babies, the Queen eats jelly babies. Right. Everyone sees the Queen eats babies, and no one sees the Queen eats jelly babies.
Right, interesting.
Yeah. Because of how we connect things with the software that I was making, you would get that later notification. This thing that you were watching, this thing that you read, there's an update, there's a retraction. So you can actually be much more attached to what, obviously you are limited.
Mainstream media might not like that too much.
Oh, tough.
If there's a retraction coming later, they might not like that.
Here's the other thing though, the software doesn't give a damn about where the source came from. It doesn't prioritize BBC over Crawley Observer. It doesn't matter. If there's an event on there, the event's on there, which also means that if some news sources like BBC are skipping a bunch of news stories, you wouldn't even notice. Well, you would if you looked, but you would just see that the events were recorded. It doesn't matter who reported on them. This
sounds very technological to me.
Yeah, sorry, I'm.
It's fine. Something that goes right over my head, but I'm kind of getting the concept, and it sounds actually very interesting, and it sounds like something that could actually be used for good.
Well, my intent was to blow it all open. That was the idea. You know, the reason I came up with it was because I saw the problems and I was sick of it, and I did what I do, which is build things.
Right. Apparently, isn't your old firm Thales a weapons firm?
It's a defense constructor. Yeah, they do a bunch of stuff. So they do flight software in aircraft. So if you're on like a normal passenger plane, you know, the little screens they have at the front, and they show the globe and they show where your plane is on the flight. They probably made that. But yeah, they do defense stuff. And
this is a company you used to work for.
Yeah.
So
I only worked in the simulation bit. I worked in the computer games bit. So
Oh.
I can't tell you anything. I can't because I don't know. I
That would
can't
be
tell
a
you anything
young
about the
boy's
phasers
dream.
and photon torpedoes, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that would be a young boy's dream, wouldn't it? Working in the computer games section and getting paid for it. Sounds
Pretty
great.
much. That's actually my son's dream. So if anyone is hiring.
So then moving on. So what exactly was it that this made you decide to go into politics? And for what party? Obviously.
Well, like everyone else, I suppose, you just have noticed that the country around you is falling apart. I moved into Crawley at 2016. And when I first moved in, it was already a little bit rough. And within 5 years of being here, it massively took a nosedive. And it's mostly driven by the people that live here. So we've had an awful lot of mass immigrations and all of its effects come to our town. And it's a very sort of, you could say it's a working class town, but I would actually, there's quite a few middle class too. I would actually class it as a town of busy people with a great sense of humor. That's how I describe Crawley. People are just busy. They're working, they're earning, and they're funny.
And
You go to the front door, they're funny.
It's not that far out of sort of East Grinstead, Forest Row area where people are more free loving, hippie types as well.
We've got a lot of Lib Dems around us, but not in Crawley. In Crawley, we're very, very strong reform, very strong Brexit. We see the negative effects of having open borders and having economic policies which are just socialist stuff, massive high taxes just trying to cripple you. They see it all the time. They're busy, they earn, they pay taxes, and they're still poor and struggling. And then they can't go to the pub without problems, which I can go into a little bit more later. But so yes, I saw all of this going on. And I was umming and erring about actually entering politics. And one day I decided, I was thinking about Jacob Rees-Mogg, right? How well spoken he is and how well educated he is. And, he knows all about politics. He knows what procedure to use in Parliament. I don't know. I build software. And then I thought, Boris Johnson, he speaks ancient Greek, sort of very good on stage and, giving speeches and etc. on camera. I don't know what he knows. He knows exactly what to do in politics. I don't have a politics degree. And then I thought, well, there's also Diane Abbott. There's David Lammy. There's Angela Rayner. And so I thought if they can do it,
you can do it.
Anyone can do it.
And I'm just going to stop you there because we are going to have to show, because if anyone can do it, we're going to have to show your breakdancing video from back in the day. Hey,
oh God, I haven't even gone to my history yet. Are you going to do it now?
I think we are going to do it now. If the studio has got that video ready. Yes, it's there.
That's me.
That's you.
I've got a DVD actually.
Yeah. So what we could say is actually, you're kind of a bit of a jack of all trades, aren't you? I mean, in your early days, clearly you were a dancer or a break dancer.
Right. Well,
was this your boy group, your dance group?
There's girls there.
Which one are you, by the way?
I'm on the I'm on the far right.
Far right. Okay.
Yeah. Look at my arms. Look how strong I was.
I know. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, back then. I used to do handstand press ups, right, without a wall, and I could just bash them out. Really? And I did CrossFit like a year ago, and one of the things they do in CrossFit is lots of different exercises. And one of them, they said, right, do a handstand press up. I was like, oh, good, I can do these. No, I can't. I used to be able to do it. I had no idea how strong I was. No idea. I just sort of bumbled through.
He's playing it again. The studio's playing it.
Well, I actually broke my wrist at a breakdance class. So I was teaching the class. I ran the Breakdance Society, and I was an intermediate at best, really. And so before we could get a teacher, I started teaching the classes and doing the best I could. After we taught a class, we just sort of have a freestyle session where everyone goes and does their thing. And I tried doing a move called a 1990. So if you imagine 1990s, a 1 and a 9 and a 9 on top of each other. So it's spinning on one hand. I do my setup, roll my hand round, put my hand on the mat, perfect balance, feet go straight up, body starts spinning, hand doesn't move.
Oh,
Crunch, down onto the floor, and then I just carried on. I broke
so,
it.
Trust
I
me,
broke it. I just carried on.
we have the kind of the same background from our early days, because I used to be a dancer, and I trained to be a dancing teacher, but I have damaged many an ankle through bad landing and having to carry on. So I know the pain of having to carry on dancing or break. Well, not me personally break dancing, but yeah. So we do have that in common. I think it kind of shows a personal, a more down to earth side to you, because I just said you're like a jack of all trades. You can dance,
I was in the master salsa class too for a while.
Oh, it just gets better and better, doesn't it?
Next podcast, we'll
That's very appealing, isn't it? next people will be asking if you're married. every woman loves a man who can dance. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, so I hear.
That will definitely give you appeal in your career in politics, definitely. But going back to you saying about you looked at Angela Rayner and
I could say that they inspired me.
Well, they definitely inspired you to make you think, as you quite rightly said, that if they can do it, then you can do it. And I think you've got enough experience behind you. But to be honest, personally, I think the only thing that you actually really need in politics foremost, I mean, I guess you have to understand about politics, but foremost, I actually think that you have to have compassion, empathy, and understanding, which a lot of them seem to be lacking these days.
Yes, I might argue with one slight thing there. You've got to be careful with empathy and use sympathy instead. Empathy is where you put yourself in the other person's shoes and feel what they feel. Sympathy is where you stay on your own sort of 2 feet, but offer, you don't feel it, because at the same time, I get why you say that, but imagine if, I am certainly to some extent, and I have to be careful. But imagine lots of people have lots of problems, right? And if you're going to be able to help everyone, you're going to have to be able to keep your own head in order. I mean, imagine if you're a therapist and you felt everything that your patients did. We've spoken before, and I'll say now, one of the other reasons I entered politics was I want to be vague out of respect for the victim, but someone I know was violently attacked. I'll be careful with the words because social media will block the video if I use them. It was gang-ard by 5 people that crossed the channel. That was someone I knew before entering politics. And since then, I have met a woman whose 4-year-old seems to have been attacked, and another lady just last week whose 11-year-old daughter had been groomed, and she told me the whole story about how that happened. And the guy that did it to her as a teenager, when she hit 14, tried to escape it, he nearly killed her.
Right.
And she showed me the photos of what he did. He nearly killed her. And if I sit here and I feel what the mother feels, I will be a quivering, shaking wreck. So that's why I say, careful with the empathy, but good with the sympathy. Make sense?
100%. But although I can sense that you in your tone that you're feeling it, but obviously able to sort of still process it.
Well, I'll come out and say that the first lady, 2 of the people that attacked her went home after she went to the police, went abroad. As far as I'm aware, the other 3 are still here in Crawley. And if I knew what they looked like, I'd tear their heads off with my bare hands and I'd sleep well at night.
Yeah, probably be careful of that one. But I think
I'm not calling for anyone else to do it. I'm just saying emotionally. It's.
So that was really the driving force for you to really go into politics and think to yourself, I need to be able to do something here. What can I do?
I do also have like I started exploring philosophy a lot in my early 30s, following a lot of Jordan Peterson, going through the podcasts, what was it called? The Psychological Significance of the Biblical Stories. I listened to that series many times. I went through, I don't know how many books now, mostly audiobooks, Marcus Aurelius Meditations and all sorts. I read the Communist Manifesto. I read the Quran. I wanted to know what it said in there, because people say a lot of things. It's a religion of peace or it's a death cult. Sure, I can see what happens out of extreme Islam. I'm not blind, but I thought if I read it myself, then I could have an authority when I speak, and etc.
You know for yourself.
Oh yeah. I mean, otherwise you're just regurgitating other people's information. It's not yours, and that doesn't really add to anything. And if you're making decisions based on other people's information and not yours, you're making decisions from other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We're going to go to a break.
Okay.
And we'll pick up when we come back.
All right.
Okay.
Unfiltered, uncensored, unprecedented TV.
Hi, and we're back.
Hello.
So, moving forward, what do you hope to achieve in this new role? Well,
right. Well, we just had our annual sort of general meeting where we elected the new committee, and I am still the chair. So we have a year ahead with some good stability with our team. We have elections next year. And obviously on the politics side of things, we need to get people elected so that we can do things. At least we have the authority to do things when in office, because we are already doing things out of office, which I'm kind of proud of what we've managed to achieve already. What do I really want to achieve?
Is this in your community, the things?
Yep. So there's one very good thing on the go, which I can't talk about quite yet because it's not 100% and I don't want to spoil it, but maybe we can talk again in a few weeks' time when I think it will be sorted. But it's helping women and girls in particular.
Okay.
Now, I was saying before that, I explored a lot of philosophy and I sort of fell in love with the mythos of England. I'll give you a fun one. So, the King Arthur stories, right? You've heard of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the stories in there, the Knights of the Round Table. A lot of those knights were nobles who earned their place at the table because they were so good and brave and good with a sword. A lot of them were also peasants who earned their place at the table because they were honorable and good with a sword, etc. And so you've got a circular table where anyone from any background could look into the eyes of the king and tell him he's wrong. Now, when you might think, well, it's a great story of equality. Some of those stories are dated back to 4000 BC. The idea of meritocracy is ancient here. It's so ancient. And I just fell in love with it. And these are the ideas that have created the best civilizations that have spread around the world. And they are the best ones. And any country around the world that has adopted our values are good countries. I mean, Japan was, I'm no expert, so someone's probably going to fact check and correct me. But prior to World War II, it was quite tyrannical. People of Japan were pushed into kamikaze, and your sense of honor was very much to sacrifice yourself for the emperor. And post World War II, when American culture started pushing on there, I'm sure every culture has its problems and everything, but they're pretty free and they're doing really well. They're like top tech level, incredible country. It just goes to show that it doesn't have to be in Europe as such. It's not in the blood of white people or anything like that. But the values, when you just keep embodying them, they really do generate a brilliant society. And I love it. And I want it to continue. I want it to thrive. But we've got lots of attacks against it.
I was going to say that. So do you have hope that we can change what is currently happening in this country?
Yes, absolutely. We are going to win. I think it is already done. I mean, there are a couple of things that I suppose could do to screw us up, but realistically, I think it is done. If Labour tighten their grip and get more tyrannical,
I was going to ask about that because I was going to say, you know, well, as everyone who knows me knows, I don't understand politics. I personally, I don't like it. So I have tried to stay away from it. But I was thinking about this. So obviously Reform are doing quite well, obviously. And I think it's kind of looking, or they're hoping that within 3 years, you know, they're going to win a general election. So what do you think about the fact that Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe have obviously split from Reform and started their own parties as in Advance, and it's Restore Britain, isn't it? Do you think within 3 years that's possibly going to split what would have been all votes for Reform?
Yes. My personal opinion is that I don't think they have a chance of winning an election. But what I've noticed has happened, and this is my experience here in Crawley, is what has happened over there has hit our volunteers. Now, the whole Rupert and Ben affair, I know more about the Rupert affair than the Ben one. I used to be Rupert's biggest fan, right? So I'm going to get my geek out a little bit. What I thought Reform was looking like was that we would have champions at the top, like a Dungeons and Dragons party type thing, or, you know, whatever, the hero squad, right? Richard Tice was brilliant on business and net zero stuff. In the business circles, he really is a titan. You know, we might not see it, most of us, but he is. And then we had Rupert Lowe being, you know, tough on the crime and immigration stuff. I thought maybe Dr. David Bull could be an NHS guy because he's been a successful doctor, etc. I thought we were going to get like a squad at the top, and Rupert was one of those heroes. And of course, everything went sour there. But people don't know exactly what happened about Rupert. I put together a branch meeting presentation because of what was going on. And for that presentation, I did an awful lot of research. I started it as a Rupert superfan, and I ended it glad that he's gone. That's going to shock a lot of people because they hear Rupert's rhetoric on, you know, when he does speeches or videos. They see Rupert's social media manager post things on Twitter. It's not Rupert, it's a social media manager. And they fall in love with that because he's got strength when we've had so many decades of weakness. I totally get it.
What would you say to the people that obviously don't trust any political party and believe that it doesn't matter what party it is, you know, red, green, blue, yellow, they're all the same head of the same snake? And that basically a lot of people are also saying that Reform is just another form
Controlled opposition.
We're controlled. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the conspiracy theorist in me would say that, you know, there's a lot of competition kind of going on here. You know, is Reform controlled or not? I don't know. But by two people splitting from that party when it was really gaining traction, almost seems a little bit too convenient to then obviously have a chance of Reform having no chance of winning and was just straight back to, you know, Labour and Conservative. You know, what's your opinion? I mean, obviously I'm going to say what's your opinion on that. What would you say to those people who think like that?
All right, well, I will tell you my experience, I suppose, because that's all I can really give you. I met Nigel twice, very briefly, like a few seconds at a time. It was a funny story on the photos. I think there you go. So that's the time when we first met. We were one of the first 40 pilot branches set up, Crawley, because we did pretty well in the general election. And so I know it's a bit of a tangent. I will get back to your question. Reform put out an Instagram video, a promo one, which I think I sent the link to you for. And I have featured in it in this moment.
Oh, okay.
But the caption underneath, I have such a childish sense of humor.
Did you put that?
I didn't put it. No, that's in the video. Of course I didn't put it there. So when I saw that, someone said, you're in the video, I went, oh, brilliant. And I froze the video and I took a screenshot and then I sent it to my friend just giggling away. And he says, if I don't make that my Twitter profile, I'm failing at life. That's literally his words.
Right.
But anyway, so Nigel says it is actually enormous. Silly stories aside. So from what I do know of Nigel, having met him at that point, he is like in private, like he is in public. But of course, he still probably putting on a show for the new faces that are around. So I can't guarantee anything else from there. It seems unlikely. I'll give you. So one of our policies is to stop paying interest on government debt, quantitative easing, right?
Okay.
Voluntarily, we pay, I think it's £35 billion a year interest to banks, to the Bank of England. If you are going to say that we're controlled opposition and working for the blob, well, we're depriving those at the very, very top of British blobness of an awful lot of money every year. It doesn't quite make sense, right? We're shooting them straight away. It's the first thing we do. It's going to be quite early.
But what a lot of people are saying, even those that still believe in voting, is that they come up with all these promises and what they put in their manifesto, and then once they get in, they never actually do it anyway. So
yeah, I get that.
Said, and then they're not being true to their word.
I get that. That's because it's happened so much to us. It absolutely has, as British people. Remember, career is 15 months old. You know, it happened to me. I'm fed up with it too. There is no way, literally, there is no way that I can promise that. There's no way I can prove that that wouldn't happen. I can promise that I would play absolutely no part in it. I can promise that should I know anybody else that's playing a part in it, I would scupper them, because I really do love this country.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you personally, not through intelligence or, you know, anything like that, but personally, what is it that you personally trust about reform that you obviously went with that party?
I've met so many people who are so fantastic. It just seems very unlikely that it's anything other than what we are putting out there. So I've met Zia quite a few times. I'm actually closer to Zia than anyone else in leadership.
Okay.
I was leafleting for a by-election in Northgate and West Green in November. It was like 10 o'clock at night or something, and my phone just rings, and it's Zia Youssef. And we have a 20-minute chat talking about what tech we want to build, because he's a tech bro. He's a geek like me, really. He's like, oh, we could build this and we could build that. And do you reckon we could do that? Could you do that? Do you want to come in and talk about it? You know, it was very real teenagers chatting at that point.
So basically you're putting trust in them based on the people that you know personally and that you've been working alongside.
I've met a bunch of other people in HQ. They all seem absolutely sound. I'm not making this up. Do I know them deeply? Do I know them very, very well? No, I don't. You know, so am I putting my life on it? I don't know them well enough to say absolutely not. But I can tell you that so many people around reform, so many, I'm not going to say all, but a lot are like me.
All right.
And I don't think they'd get away with it. I just don't think that they would.
Right. We're just going to have a quick look at some of the shows that are going to be on Unprecedented TV, and then we'll be coming back again.
Cool.
And we're back again.
Hello. Right. So we were
Yeah.
talking, if I may jump in. So we were
Sure.
talking about people not having trust in reform, thinking that maybe controlled opposition, etc. This is something that I fight on Twitter or X all the time. And that's basically what my X account is. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of things that have recently come out of social media, which have done the rounds, and they're completely not true. So first, I don't actually know who Basil the Great is. Is he anything to do with the show? Because I just saw a Basil in the advert.
I think I don't know. I think he's just a journalist on X. I'm not too great on X, to be honest. I have seen him around.
So he recently said that he got a copy of our branch rules, and he showed some terrible, terrible clauses in it. So I got that. A couple of other people internally on reform sent me the message as well, saying, "What the hell's this?" So contacted the regional director, and he gave an update and said he showed us the new one that was a draft that they're working on. It's nothing like it. Well, not nothing like it. What it looks like happened is Basil the Great got a copy of our branch rules, modified them, and then put them up, saying that these are the new rules, showing ridiculous, absurd things in there in order to make people think that we're controlled opposition. It's fiction. I don't know how I can just scream this. It's fiction.
I just need to stop you to confirm that we do have a presenter called Basil on the show, and it's not
the same one.
This Basil, good Basil.
Good. Sorry, I saw the name and I thought, you know what, I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Another one, Tommy Robinson recently. I have nothing against Tommy Robinson, but recently he keeps putting posts up, and he spoke on Dan Wootton's show saying that there was a dinner early in the year and Nigel Farage was there and a whole bunch of Pakistani Muslim men were all at the head table. Isn't reform being Islamized? It didn't happen.
I did see that one.
There was a dinner in January where there were 2 men at the head table, neither of which are Pakistani. Right. And they're not his mates either.
What we find is that there is so much misinformation coming from everywhere. It literally is in a world of misinformation. How do you actually work out what's the truth? And I think it does get to the point where you just feel like you can't trust anybody.
I get it, but I'm going to hammer this home some more. I'm sorry, Claire. I hope you don't mind, because this is the thing that actually stresses me out more than it should probably. So what was it? Oh God, I had it on the tip of my tongue. What was it?
Is it about Tommy Robinson?
There was a Tommy Robinson thing. There was that one. Oh my God, mental blank. I feel like I need to look it up.
We can go back to it, but obviously this is about misinformation and trust. And
yeah.
I'm going to ask you the question: why should people trust you? Because obviously now you have a label. So for a lot of people now, that's an instant mistrust. So why should people trust you personally, Tim?
Why should they trust me, or how could they trust me?
How could they trust you?
How could they? I guess
should trust you.
I guess what you need to do is just talk to me, really. Ask me a question that you think I might lie to.
Well, that's the thing. That's we met obviously just last weekend, didn't we, at Crawley, where you were there outside the Copthorne Hotel for the protest against the illegals in the hotel. And I kind of got the impression from you then, like I have today, that you feel very strongly about some of the things that have happened to the people in your community, and especially some of the people that you actually personally know. And obviously that's a big driver for you, I'm guessing, as to why you have gone into politics, isn't it?
It is. I can earn much more money programming than politics.
Yeah, I would assume that. Not that I know much about it, but and why did you go down that? Because I have heard, and I don't know if this is true. This could all be misinformation. But first, I heard that Reform, this did actually come from Ireland, but Reform had told their councillors to not attend any of the protests. And then I heard, not true. And then I heard that Labour had told their councillors, etc., to not attend any protests at all. What I've noticed at these protests, that it has only been Reform councillors, etc., that have attended. So why did you attend that day?
Well, it's local to me. It's important to me. A lot of people got in contact with me saying, "Oh, are you going?"
Yeah.
I did have a plan to have a fun day out in London, which I cancelled, and came along. It's part of getting your voice heard, I suppose.
Yeah.
In addition, I suppose there is a sort of extra political motivation, and that is, so you were talking about how Reform was saying that councillors aren't allowed to attend. Fiction.
Yeah,
It's okay. But the party leadership actually encouraged, what was his name? That one of the main councillors in Epping who attended the protests, and he gave speeches and things. Because of those protests in Epping, they managed to get that hotel closed. Now, realistically, getting the hotels closed doesn't actually solve the problem as such, because they're not getting deported. So they're just getting moved elsewhere, right? But more and more pressure, maybe we can get them moved into some kind of a detention site rather than in our communities, in HMOs and in hotels. Labour do U-turns. They've started this whole, we're going to deport some foreign criminals, but with a very limited list of countries, and Afghanistan and Pakistan are not on the list. Australia and Canada are. But it is possible that we can actually do something. So when I say there is a political motivation, well, maybe we can get some more of these closed if we just keep up the pressure, keep going. Yeah. We don't have a general election coming anytime soon. It seems very unlikely Labour will call one just because they like power, right? I mean, I'd love to be proved wrong, but what are we going to do? Just sit here and do nothing until the general election? It's just, no, let's keep up that pressure and see if we can slow down the decay of our country so that in 2029 we have less of a job restoring it. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still quite skeptical. As I said, I don't trust in politics. I'm not really a believer. I want to believe. Yeah, I know. I want to believe good in people. You seem very genuine. You seem like you're going into it with the right intentions. And what was it that you said to me the other day about, because I said, obviously, once you go into, I wouldn't want to go into politics because I believe that ultimately it corrupts you. And what did you say to me?
So I said that once you acknowledge that every single human being can be corrupted, a bit of Alexander Solzhenitsyn, right? Yeah. If you acknowledge everyone can, especially and acknowledge that you can, already you have won half the battle, because you could be corrupted, and if you don't want to be corrupted, you'll just keep your eyes on your own behavior.
Yeah.
I then got a few friends to do a deal with me where if I crossed the line at all, that they would make sure I knew. One offered to crack my head open. One of the things that I actually said was, if I ever use the phrase, "Don't you know who I am?" You beat me around the head.
Yeah,
honestly.
Or too big for your boots, or too egotistical,
like that. Yeah.
And what did you say about compromise?
Yeah. So realistically, there is going to be compromise here or there. I wish it wasn't the case, but you've got to choose what you're going to compromise on. And there is one situation where I did do a very minor compromise. Right? There is a cat meowing. Hello.
We literally have about 1 minute left.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, right. So I had a very quick, I had a tiny little compromise, right? Yep. I then essentially wrote it down as a debt that I had to repay. And later on, I actually repaid that debt 10 times over. So I feel like my rap sheet is clean. And I think this might be a good way of going forwards. I acknowledge that compromise might have to happen, but then I acknowledge I pay it back.
And I think that's a really good ethos to have. When you told me that, and we had a bit more of a sort of deeper chat than that, it seemed that we were kind of on the same wavelength in that respects. And I think, as long as you stick to that, that friend's there to crack your head open if you step out of line. And
you'd enjoy it.
And you don't allow yourself to get corrupted, and as you said, you're aware of it. And the thing, your ethos about the compromise, pay it back 10 times over, then I think people like you, hopefully, could do a lot of good in your communities.
Thank you very much. I wish we had more time, because there's a couple more massive points I'd like to make.
I'm so sorry. You've had longer than most, so you are very lucky and honoured.
Yeah, okay, fine.
You can use that line, don't you know who I am? Because
don't you know who I am? I've been on Claire Dyer show for the longest time.
Yeah. Yes, you're
It's going
welcome.
to get a crack in the head now. The suit of armor is going to come to life.
You know me, I am very critical minded when it comes to politics. You seem like a lovely guy. I really hope that you stay true to yourself. I'm sure we will chat again, of course, and just keep that ethos, you know, because we need people like you to try and help in local communities within the political world. So thank you so much for coming on and talking to me today. And we will definitely be talking again.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you. So why do people go into politics? So today we've heard from Tim and his reasons, his hope to try to make positive change in his community. We've watched government after government promise change and deliver chaos. We've seen ministers line their pockets, contracts handed to family and friends, like doing with the PPE during COVID. Lies spun, and all the while, ordinary people struggle with rising bills, broken services, and communities left behind. For some, politics has become less about public service and more about a fast track to influence, wealth, or status. But it doesn't mean that everyone in politics, in the political world, is corrupt. There are some that believe it should be about service, principle, and standing up for what's right and trying to do the best they can in a system that has clearly lost its way. Ultimately, I personally believe we need to fill Parliament with people that have the right intentions, and the person that sits in 10 Downing Street should be of a pure soul, a government of the people, by the people, that is 100% for the people. That's all we've got time for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Claire Dyer. This is Dyer Consequences on Unprecedented TV. Please tune in. We have many other shows all lined up, and we'll be speaking to you again next week.